Hello, and welcome back to another development video. Today, I am talking a bit more generally about the hosts in Village of Origins, which is the game's main feature. Now, there are quite a bit of hosts, 50 when considering the general ones that you can freely control throughout the game. And there are also a few special hosts, such as the prisoner and blank space I looked at earlier, as well as some that are part of the main quest, but we'll keep those ones a secret. For me to navigate these 50 hosts is not too difficult, because I made them and I know how they work. But I spent some time wondering how I can prevent, or at least minimize, frustrations to new players as they're thrown into this world. This devlog will be talking about how I've attempted to make the host mechanic user-friendly without bombarding the player with menus and screens. So, let's rewind time to take a look at how the player will be first introduced to these hosts. Here I am, creating a new game and designing my character. In the character creation screen, I'm also able to actually rotate my character now, which is kind of cool. And I think he looks pretty good, so I confirm it, and I choose my backstory, and start up the game. But, to my shock, I am not my character, but some random baker. Text appears along the bottom telling me, hey, you move this host with your mouse. You use the left mouse button to move, the right mouse button to cancel movement, and the middle mouse button to jump. So I have here a very simplistic basis on movement confined to a single host. After walking for a bit, the game adds another layer. Press 2 or scroll the mouse to make the right mouse button do something different. Attack. And then with this attack option, there is a tutorial stump that doesn't kill you because it cancels out once you reach a certain level of health. This trend continues on, showing the player the first 5 functions the right mouse button can do: cancel movement, primary attack, secondary attack, pickup, and dialogue, as well explaining how the secondary attack for the baker recharges by being near a kitchen, and showing you how to search for selectable items and important figures, as well as being able to open up the inventory. By the end of this tutorial, the player is an expert on the baker. The only problem is there's 49 other hosts. After some lore that drops explaining why you're the baker, the game adds its biggest layer of complexity, the 6th right mouse button option, switching hosts. The game first goes over how to switch hosts when no other host is active, and then goes over how to switch between active hosts. The player will be able to use the foundational skills taught with the baker and apply it to these new hosts in the starting area, playing around with their basic attack, picking up the odd items, using dialogue, as well as using their secondaries, which they'll notice are different between each of them. The game at the bottom tells you that every secondary is special, but relies on either SP, MP, or ammo, and tells the player to press the tab, or whatever your key binding is set to, and be brought to this menu. I have finally tidied and organized this host menu so it's consistent everywhere, and I am so happy. So when I hover over the baker, I can see its primary attack is the rolling pin, and its secondary attack is the pizza toss. I can also hold the shift key to view a legend to see what the number and letter next to the primary and secondary attack is. I also have its class set to be villager, and then in brackets 1-1, implying that it is the first host in the first row. This 1-1 will help with quickly navigating to find each host that you've unlocked on the larger list of 50 hosts. I have their temperament, which is how they respond in combat, and also their means of regenerating their secondary attack. So with the baker, of course, it's in the kitchen or near other heat sources. And I've made this regeneration explanation more fleshed out. So for example, with the farmer, I can see that its ammo can be regenerated by foraging eggs near hens or purchased in the Castle region. This description gives me a clearer idea on how can this character replenish its secondary attack. For the mail carrier, I have passive regeneration for its secondary, with it listing as 3 SP per second. For cooldowns, I have with the innkeeper here as an 8-second cooldown. Very clear, direct instructions on how long it takes for that character to replenish. And then with the librarian, I have consuming the herb type of item. This one can be a bit more challenging, but considering you'll find herbs near the start of the game, and they'll be listed as herbs, and the description is replenishing mana, it hopefully won't be too bad. Now, with this foundational skill set, when the player unlocks a new host, they will have a general idea of how that host works. And if they need a safe space to experiment, they have the hub world, as well as the training dummies in the hub world to experiment on. Or so I hope. We'll see what beta testing reveals when I open it up to some people to try. Between this host menu and the host compendium, which gives a more analytical lens of comparing the numerical stats of the different hosts, there was not much more that I needed to actually add to describing these hosts. I had this host handbook that I put in the inventory. As I started to write it, I realized that there wasn't much need for this host handbook, because I didn't want a third spot to access information, which would be essentially redundant. So I thought about what to do with this handbook that I added to the inventory, since I got used to it being there, and I kind of liked the aesthetic space it filled up. After some thinking, I decided on making a host scrapbook, which takes a screenshot whenever you control a host for the first time, creating a cute way to look back as you unlock more hosts. So I can view the first time I played as each villager. And like you can see, I didn't put the innkeeper into the playing field. So if I go back out, swap into and spawn the innkeeper, go back to the compendium, you can see the innkeeper over on the farm by the carrots. To better showcase the scrapbook, let's go and unlock the barbarian. We will finish the tutorial here and enter the forest and just... There we are. And if I open up the inventory, and I can see him added there. It's kind of fun with the barbarian because you see him right next to the goblin you slew, and you're like, that's the enemy I beat when I unlocked the barbarian. I picture some people trying to create really silly screenshots by having objects around when unlocking certain hosts. Based on how popular this scrapbook option is, I might give the option to be able to delete and redo pictures, but I kind of like capturing that initial moment. And of course, if I open up the inventory, I can also view the stats of the barbarian to be able to determine where the barbarian is on the host screen, and also the stats that they have. This month was a lot more about tidying up menus and screens than it was essentially new content. But with this update done, I cross off another item and move towards the last few items before beta. It's surreal seeing it get shorter and shorter each month. As always, thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.